we're on to part 2 of Depraved by Brian Smith. So we enter our second character story with Megan and Pete, a young road-tripping couple that are going to a music festival. They stop in the little town of Hopkins Bend to get some gas. They're both a ditzy, mid-20s couple. Pete kind of gives me douchey frat boy vibes. And Megan is described as kind of ditzy. So they stop off for gas in a town called Hopkins Bend. And this particular gas station is very straight out of the 70s or 60s. No ATM cards. You have to pay inside. Pour them. So as Pete's kind of sitting there, mad about the fact that, oh my god, I have to go pay inside. What is this town? Ew. Ew. There's nothing over here. This is like a yuck kind of town. Where are the banjos at, man? And Megan's just sitting in the passenger seat, reading like a horror novel. That's nice, honey. Could use a latte right now. You just go pay for gas. I'll wait here. Bye. So they kind of give each other shit for a minute, and then Pete finally goes inside and goes to pay for gas. As soon as he walks into the gas station, there is an uncomfortable aura. 3 men sit at an adjacent table playing cards. They don't smile, they just look at him and watch him walk into the store. Everybody's wearing plaid and overalls. Sounds like my kind of town. There's a long monologue about Pete's judgment towards what these people look like. As he approaches the main man behind the counter of the gas station, large, 6'5", big man in overalls. Pete just sized him up and judged him immediately for the way he looked, his weight, height, family lineage. He walks on up to the counter. Excuse me, sir, I just need to pay for gas. What do you want, son? You ain't from around here. Yeah, man, I just need to pay for gas. We ain't got none. We ain't got none. Oh, alright. Then, I don't know, but where's the next gas station? The guys kind of giggled evilly, and the big man behind the counter pulls out a double-barrel shotgun, points it at Pete's face, and all 3 men that were sitting at that table jump up, grab his arms, and pin him to the ground. A scuffle ensues, and they beat the ever-living poopy pee-pee energy right out of Pete. The guy holding the shotgun walks over to the windows, flips the open sign to closed, and lowers the blinds, shuts down the store, walks up to Pete as he's kneeling on the ground being pinned by those mans, and rams the butt of the shotgun in his head, knocking him out. They didn't know Megan was in the car with him. She was curled up in the passenger seat, reading a book. She got about 50 pages into that book before she realized, hey, wait a minute. It's been like an hour and a half since I saw Pete. Wonder where he's at. And this is when the scene shifts to our third character story, Abigail. Oh, shoot, what's up, guy? Hi. Hello. Oh, what's up, my guy? Peace. Deuces. So we set the scene to this old rundown house that is, cabin-like. But fluck nowhere. Abigail sat at this old-fashioned rocking chair in front of a broken TV, rocking back and forth, back and forth. Abigail was in her 20s, shared a house with her family, and we get a look inside of her family lineage. Her internal monologue describes that her sister Ruth had just passed away recently, leaving behind 8 kids. Ruth was in her mid-20s. Ruth started having babies at 15. Abigail's other sister popped out 5 kids by the age of 15. Abigail is 20, and she is heavily judged within the family for not having kids by 20. She is comparing her inadequacy as a small-town woman for not being a homemaker and for having loads amount of kids by her time. She calls herself old and washed up. Oh, honey, I'm 25 and I'm still baby. I am baby. As Abigail is stewing in her own mind, rocking back and forth, one of Ruth's oldest sons, Daniel, who's about, 8 or 12, sprints through the house into the kitchen to go see her, Daniel's grandmother, but Abigail's mom. Abigail gets up and follows Daniel into the kitchen where we see Abigail's mother. Abigail's mom shows Daniel some love and starts feeding him soup out of a crock pot she's been stirring for a bit. Barely gives Abigail acknowledgement and calls her useless. Daniel giggles and insults her for not having kids at this point. Abigail's mom agrees with Daniel, but, disciplines the boy for being insulting to his aunt. Abigail, why don't you go downstairs and go check out the holiday catch? Just go feed it and make sure it's still moving. Make yourself useful. I'm going out tonight. Abby just kind of struts out of the kitchen and goes downstairs to look at the dinner. A young woman hung by shackles from the ceiling, bound and gagged. Abby walked down, entered the room, and sized up the dinner. She was still stewing and fuming about how inadequate she was as a female in this small town. Unmarried, no kids. Her family thinks she's a waste of time. And she started using the dinner as a punching bag, wailing on the stomach of this, to quote the book, young, supple female figure. After she was done kind of beating the crap out of Mrs. Dinner, Abigail sensually kind of felt her up. Little awkward scene of touchy-feely before Abigail just kind of left the room. At this point, we switch back to our first person perspective to Jessica, who is running like a bat out of hell through the forest away from these mutated men. She fled as shotgun blasts echoed through the air, dodging trees left and right with her .38 caliber handgun in her hands. She ran and ran until she could no longer hear the shotguns. She tried to get enough distance between her and them before she paused and took a drink out of a stream. This is more internal monologue of wondering what the heck these guys were. This is where she dwelled more on, is it generational? Like, what were they suffering with? I've never seen anything like them. What would they do? What happened to Hoke? Did they kill him? I don't know. What happened to him? What happened to them? And then she paused and she's like, oh my God, what if there's something in the water? And she kind of panicked because she just drank out of the stream. Oh no, I didn't drink enough to get poisoned or turn into them. But what if it's like a land thing? Or, I'm being ridiculous. It can't be that much. Jeez. Then she heard a twig snap and she whips around and she sees a young deformed boy that looked a lot like the adults that stepped into the clearing. And then we'll go on to part 3.